Hi, beautiful human. I'm Zach. That's Stanley. Welcome to the studio. First time in a long time. Joshua Bassett.
Yo.
We're back, baby. We're back.
Woo! Can you just describe your relationship, though, with Woody? Because
Yes.
I didn't know Woody when you first came on our show. I mean, but he's
Yes.
been in your life for a while, right?
He has, yeah. So when I was like 14, I was in Bridge to Terabithia, the musical, and there's a dog in that show. And so we were like, well, are we going to like find a friend's dog or whatever? And I was like, Mom, what if we like adopted the dog? Because I was like the lead guy. So I was like, well, let's just do it. So I found him online at a shelter. And we got him. He actually had been previously abused. We were pretty sure. He had a lot of issues. He's still a sweetheart, but like he's very territorial. If he had a toy, he would growl at you if you were in the same room as him. Just like, you know, a lot of stuff. So we've worked through a lot with him. But then, yeah, obviously, you know, so I was 14, and then 2 years later I moved out, and I was 16, so I couldn't really bring him with me on the road. And then I just recently moved into a house. And there's a doggy door. And so at Thanksgiving, I was like, oh, I'm just going to bring my dog up for like a week and like hang out with him. And then I fell in love with him all over again. And now he's going on tour with me.
How beautiful of a relationship.
Yeah, it's amazing. We have an interesting dynamic because he can be a little grouchy old man. He's like 13, but he's a sweetheart, really.
He's 13?
Yeah.
Wow,
yeah.
he looks great.
I know, right? He's a youngin' at heart, but yeah.
How does that change your life, though? Because it does give you a sense of responsibility that's different
Yes.
than just taking care of yourself.
100%. Yeah, I mean, I think that's good in general to have other people to take care of because it kind of, and not that he's a person, but you know, other
is,
views.
though. Like,
yes, he is. Come on, Woody. There he is.
For all sense of like, he needs you.
Yes,
You know?
100%. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a responsibility, but he's pretty easygoing. You know, easy to take care of. And definitely gets me more active on walks and whatnot. But yeah, he's a good boy.
No, that's like really healthy and mentally healthy. And
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, what's cool too is again he's very sensitive to energy. Like when I was recording Mirror on the album, like he knew that it was a really difficult song to play, and he just like jumped up and sat next to me and like put his head on my little leg, and I'm like crying while I'm like playing piano. And yeah, he's very sensitive to energy, and he always goes to the person in the room who needs love the most. So yeah, he's good.
he knows. I'm telling you, animals can smell it. They
100%.
have those senses.
Totally. Yeah.
They really can.
He's also teaching me a lot about my parents, where like he'll want to run across the street whenever he wants to run, and I'm like, dude, I know you want to do that, but you're gonna die if you like go out too soon. And like he gets mad at me whenever I try to tell him what to do, or if I'm like, hey, you got to come inside or whatever, he'll like growl at me and get grouchy. But I'm like, I would rather you be mad at me and you be alive than, you know, just me let you do whatever you want. And I feel like it's a good thing. I'm looking at my parents, I'm like, that was probably how they felt the entire time I was growing up, because I was always fighting their rules and always hated hearing what they told me to do. But then I look back and I'm like, no, they actually just cared about me and wanted the best for me. So learning a lot. Learning a lot.
And you can't tell, like, you have to experience it to understand it.
Yes,
You know?
totally. Yeah.
Dogs are amazing.
Yeah.
Can we talk about Mirror?
Please.
Innocent, Stolen, Way Too Young.
Mm.
So, I mean, this whole album, by the way, this is your story, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But you're talking about the golden years. What era of time is that?
Yeah, I mean, technically I wrote it for the last like 4 years, so it's like late teen to like early 20 vibes. But, you know, I think what's cool about it is like there's, I know like an 85-year-old woman who like listens to it on repeat, listens to the golden years. And like the producer of Cherry Blossom's daughter, who's like 4, has been singing that song since we wrote it, like nonstop. So I think what's cool is it can sort of reach any sort of age. But for me personally, it's like the last 4 years, which are like the best and the worst years of my entire life. So yeah.
I mean, okay. People describe the golden years of their life as like something that maybe comes later.
Mm.
How does it settle with you, this idea of like you like is that oh my god
no, he's peeing.
Oh no,
It's
did he?
okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
That's fine. He smells lube because my dog is all over that couch.
He only pees when there's other dogs who have
Oh
pee.
no, it's totally lube. I mean,
Yeah,
like,
when we
right?
went into Petco, he
Yeah.
was very misbehaved. My bad.
No,
That's
it's
okay.
totally okay.
It happens.
Yeah, I don't care.
Yikes.
My dog, by the way, Lou has literally urinated all. Sorry to everybody else who's already sat on the couch, but my dog's vomited on it.
Oh, wow.
He's urinated on it. He used to hang out underneath.
Is this the same couch? Did this come
Yes.
with?
Oh,
yeah.
Nice. Wow. This is a historic couch, Zach. This is crazy.
You know, I gotta say, like the last time, like it's been a minute since we've talked, but our paths really crossed during like maybe the worst moments of my life because it was when my radio show went away.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, you were like freaking out. You were like, dude, you sent me like 300 logos for the new zachsang show.
I was
You're
like, what do I
can't figure out which one. You're like, I've been staring at them all for hours. I'm like, dude, I don't know. I like this one. I don't know if the one I picked ended up being the one, but I like what you ended on. It's pretty nice.
We like did one and then we changed it, but I just remember the day that like I realized that like I had to leave this place and you came by and the very next day I had to move that fucking couch.
Yeah, because it was
studio.
you, me, and our friend who were just like in the studio, and you were begging me to release that one song. You remember "Cruel"?
Yeah, did not make it onto the album.
No way, that didn't make it on. We were just blasting it in the studio as you were like crying. It was like it was sad, but I think it's for the better, right? Would you agree?
Oh yeah. It ultimately was, but I gotta say, like, dude, you are a great friend, and during that period of time, it does overlap with some of these songs.
Yes, yeah. I wrote "Biting My Tongue" and "Look Afraid to Come" like 4 years ago. Well, 4.5 years ago.
And Cherry Blossoms was around then too.
As well. Yeah, 4 years ago. So it's crazy because, I've put out so much music, but these songs just, the time didn't feel right yet. They just kept coming with me where I had in my back pocket, but I was like, it's just not the time, And then once I started working with Tommy and Jeremy, the producers, it was kind of like this match made in heaven of this is like perfect sort of synergy that we had. And so once we started rolling with that, the first song we wrote was The Golden Years. Once we started rolling with that, I was like, okay, let's bring back Biting My Tongue and let's get it to sound how I want it to sound. And let's bring back Cherry Blossom and let's bring back Look How Far You've Come and like really flesh them out. And I feel like it's been just so rewarding to sort of hold on to those and keep them in my back pocket. Yeah.
Are they written in 2 different chapters of your life though? Because like those come earlier and then like there's a whole crop of songs that come...
Yeah.
I guess more recently?
Totally. Yeah, I mean, I think the most recent one that I wrote is Mirror, actually. I think that was the last one I wrote for the album. And that was probably 4 months ago. So it definitely spans the whole 4 years. So it's cool to see the roller coaster. And it's also interesting how I put together the songs, the order of the songs, based on how sonically I thought they would go best. And they tell a full story. Like, it's kind of nuts. If you actually pay attention, there's a cohesive storyline that carries through.
It's true.
So anyways, it's just cool how that kind of worked out because it wasn't like I forethought like, oh, this has to say this first and then it'll go into this. It just kind of naturally came together like that, and it all tells a cohesive story. So pretty neat.
Back to Mirror. Why was that needed for the story? Like, why? That was the last song you wrote. So after that moment, the album's done.
Yeah, I guess I didn't know in that moment that the album was done. I actually thought that we had a dud day when I wrote Mirror.
Really?
We were trying to write like a house music sort of pop, I don't know, bro, some like dance banger we were trying to write, and I was just like, nothing was coming, and I wanted to quit so bad that day, and I just went outside and took like a 5-minute break, and I was like, just go in and give it one more go. And I went in, and as soon as I got over the hump of that, just like feeling horrible, Mirror came in like 5 minutes or less. It was like so fast, bro. We just like vomited out Mirror and then recorded a quick demo of it. And I remember just going home being like, okay, well, not every day can be a winner, We don't always have to get a breakthrough song. And I just thought the song was kind of like meh. And then I came back the next day and they like played it for me. And I was like, I almost like cried. I was like, oh my gosh. So it came around. But I think that song, again, I didn't think about it. That's kind of the craziest thing about every song on the album. Pretty much every song came out of improv, like just me sitting down vomiting out. It wasn't like I was like, I need to write a song about not being able to look in the mirror. It was like, no, I just like vomited out whatever came out, and that song just sort of made itself happen. So
it's been hanging, on you, right? Mm-hmm. It's been within you. It's been weighing on you in some way, shape, or form.
Say that again. In one shape or form?
Yeah, it's been like weighing on you now.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, I think that there have been times where I have looked in the mirror, and that song is it's about a lot of things. I mean, but one of the main things, obviously, not obviously, but I've struggled with like addiction and a handful of other things that, and just like life, when, life throws stuff at you and, I've been through the ringer in a lot of ways. You just kind of look at yourself and you're like, who is that guy? Like, or you look at a photo of yourself when you're younger and you're like, I really don't recognize that guy anymore. And so that concept, I guess, yeah, I had sort of been thinking about for a while of like, man, like I couldn't look myself in the mirror for such a long time. And so that song just sort of, I guess, came from that lived experience. But yeah, it's crazy.
What does that song do in terms of being able to, like, I don't know, better understand who you are so you can Have that moment in the mirror.
Yeah, I think it's interesting how it's followed up by Look How Far You Come, because it's like, yes, you might be like unrecognizable to yourself, and yes, you've been through hell, and yes, you've been through all these different things, and it's changed you, and you've had horrible days and you've had great days, and it's just changed who you are. The next song being Look How Far You've Come is like, yeah, you might be different, but look how far you've come. Like, look at what you've been through, look at who you are now because of that. And you might not be the same guy that you see in the mirror, but it's for the better, and you've come a long way, and you've been through hell, but you've gone out the other side.
But you wrote that 4 years ago or 3 years ago.
No, Mirror I wrote 3 months ago.
No, I know, but look how far you come.
Yes.
You wrote, I mean, it has to be 2.5 years ago. That song, I listened to that song maybe when you sent me a demo of it, which is a completely different, it's not completely different. The bones of what exists today still was there. Dude, I must have listened to that song 100 times a day.
Wow.
Yeah, no, it's
You've
great.
always been my biggest fan, Zachsang.
Dude,
I'm serious, bro.
That record is so good.
Thank you, man. I will say, just as a side note, you really did believe in my music more than anyone else in my life. Like, literally more than anyone in my career. Like, my team, I felt like they didn't get me. I felt like my friends kind of didn't understand it. And when I sent you the music, you were just like so supportive of me. And I'm just so thankful for like the way that you encouraged me, because I really don't know if it really helped me to keep going, because I don't know if I would have, to be honest.
I'm happy you did, because it's genuinely like, for me, it's the right amount of like, it's beautiful storytelling, but it's also nostalgic. Like, it gives me like freaking Gavin DeGraw energy. It gives me like hot AC energy that used to like just ring out through the freaking New Jersey suburbs. Like, dude, it is a missing part of music. And I think like Benson makes that sort of music. You make that sort of music. It's very much coming back. Like, it's really great.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you.
I do think "Cruel" is one of your best songs that the world will
Get out
never
of here.
hear. It is really good. No one's gonna hear it, and we'll probably cut this out. But like, it is so good too.
It's all right. It's all right.
That's nuts. You know it's a good song. You know it's good, and it's layered, and it's stylistic.
Yeah. It is. It's a little bit mean. I tried to stay away from the mean. I think it's like definitely snarky and fun. I think it's great. Maybe another artist will put it out, and I'll just change my name on it.
That's never possible.
It is possible.
That was a very interesting time where TikTok was becoming more and more the dominant tastemaker, but like radio was still reliant in some way to kind of tell a full picture. And it's so fascinating because A&R hasn't done it's the job of an A&R person today is very different.
Totally.
It's not about seeking out potential. It's about just analyzing data and making bets and investments
based on what's working.
Based on the tastemakers that is generated from TikTok and whatever. It's mostly TikTok.
Which is ironic, because all the songs that actually do well and go beyond are the songs that people haven't heard before, like the songs that feel fresh, that feel new, So it's ironic that they're like trying to chase sort of what's working, but also with the algorithm, like, dude, it's like so unpredictable. It's insane. Like, I'll post a teaser and it goes like crazy, and I'm like, awesome. And then the next thing just like flops, and you're like, dude, like, how do you even, like,
you can't build a campaign or a life around it.
Not at all. Yeah. So that's been an interesting thing to navigate, is the social media of it all, because like, obviously, like, I love it. And I think it can be a great tool. But it's also like the lottery, bro. It's like going to Vegas and just hoping to strike out, and you're like, you can't place your bets on Vegas. Like, that's where you end up, really in a bad place. So.
At the end of the day, you literally only control the effort and not the outcome.
Yes.
And all you can do is, make the best art.
That's the goal. Yeah. Exactly.
And that's what you're doing.
Thanks.
Thank you. It's great.
Yeah, and I know it's sort of taken a long time, to get this album done. I mean, I looked at an article recently, and it was like, I signed to Warner in 2020, and it's 2024, and it's like my debut album. It's like crazy that it's taken 4 years. But I had a moment when we were finishing up the album with Tommy and Jeremy where I was just so like grateful that it's taken this long, because I feel like the music is like infinitely better than it was before had I rushed it out, a few years ago or whatever. And I've taken the long way of like really finding myself and my voice as an artist. So anyways, I'm really proud of this album and sort of able to stand behind every single song. There's like, I made sure that there's no skips, unless you disagree. If there's any skips, please share. But
no, you're doing great. It tells a story. It cohesively flows, but also if you listen to it, you can understand.
Totally.
Hello, beautiful human. Every year, millions of gamers experience IGSS, inadequate gaming setup syndrome. Luckily, a cure has been found. You have to go beyond with the Vibrasonic mattress by Beyond Sleep. This thing has 6 built-in subwoofers, USB ports for charging, LED lights so you never stub your toe. It gives you an acoustic massage when you want it, plus adjustable degrees of comfort. this right here is the best way to game ever. Cure your IGSS today at BeyondSleepTech.com. Dancing with Tears in My Eyes, great record. Hard record to write.
That one was actually one of the easiest ones.
Really?
Yeah. I was working on Biting My Tongue with Tommy and Jeremy, and Tommy was trying to find a synth, and he just like hit this random sample or this synth pad, and I was just like, whatever that is, save it for later because that is fire. And he kind of puts his headphones on and for 15 minutes disappears. And I think he's working on Biting My Tongue, and then he comes back and he's like, I just made this thing, the entire track for Dancing with Tears in My Eyes done. I was like, bro, this is like insane. And then we wrote the song like pretty quickly, like shockingly quick. And it was just one of those like lightning bolt moments where you can't really explain how it happened. To be honest, like, and this isn't like a brag thing, I don't know how it happens, but every song on the album kind of happened that exact way. The only ones that were really hard to write were Don't Let Me Down and the Golden Years, but the rest of them, it was just like this freak sort of inspiration, crazy thing.
Do you, listening back to like whatever came out, do you think it's pulled from reality or imagination? Or maybe a combo?
The whole album, you mean?
No, just that song.
I mean, it's partially imaginative, you know, it's not like literal. Like I wasn't at the disco dancing with tears in my eyes.
Are you sure?
Well, I have been at a disco dancing emotionally, but I don't know. I don't know if I've had tears in my eyes at the disco. I probably have. I don't know. But yeah, it's like sort of playfully imaginative, but it's definitely rooted in reality, you know, that sort of concept of like pretend like you have it all together and going out to have fun with your friends, and in reality you're like dying on the inside, you know, and you run into somebody you used to love maybe, and it kind of throws you into a loop of it's like, you know, yeah. I don't know how to talk.
Right. You're doing just great.
Thanks.
What made
It's my first time.
What made the Golden Years and Don't Let Me Down hard to write compared to the rest of the album?
I think they're a bit more like story driven. You know, those songs sort of have a bit more of a structure that's like, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I think it was just the days were like harder. I don't know. It was like we really cared. I wrote Don't Let Me Down with Jenna Rain and Aiden King and Jimmy James. And that day was like the concept came pretty quick, but really piecing it together, we definitely hit our heads against the wall for a good 8 hours until it really pieced itself together. But I honestly couldn't tell you. That's the weird thing. But I also think when you're collaborating with another artist, like you're trying to honor their voice and perspective and trying to figure out how the two narratives can sort of go together, because Jenna didn't want to say anything that wasn't true to her, you know, and so I'm trying to like tell her story while also telling mine, and so that there's like naturally going to be a harder thing. And then yeah, the Golden Years, we just started with a great concept, and then it was just, you know, I don't know, we really wanted to piece it together, and the demo is actually a bit different. The bridge is totally different, the verse is different, so we really just reworked it because we felt like really good about that song, so we wanted to make it the best it could be. But I don't know, some days are easier than others.
What was it about that record that you knew like this is going to lay out like at least kind of a sonic thing for the entire...
The Golden Years?
Yeah.
It just captured this like beautiful, like bittersweet nostalgia that was just like, I don't know, there was a magic in the room when you just like feel it, and it felt like it sort of kind of painted that picture of like what I'm trying to say with this album is like, I don't want to go back in time and change anything, but I kind of wish I had enjoyed the good moments while I could have, and we're kind of in the golden years now. So I don't know, like it just sort of, it just clicked when we wrote that song where I was like, oh, this is like the embodiment of like what I'm in right now. It's like, these are the golden years, you know, like, and I guess everyone has a different idea of the golden years. Like you said, some people say it's later, but it just felt like, what exactly was your question? I'm kind of going off on a side tangent. Okay. Not having the headphones is throwing me for a loop, bro.
By the way, I would be the same way. I'm so sorry.
I'm not giving up. No, I'm giving up. I gotta give up. There's no extender we can do.
No, it's so embarrassing that we don't have headphones.
It's cool. It's cool.
It's so embarrassing.
Hakuna Matata, you know? It's all good.
Is that the right? Did you apply that phrase properly?
Hakuna Matata goes with everything. It means no worries for the rest of your days.
God, all I got is worries these days, to be honest. Shit.
You said all you got is worries?
Yes.
I would have heard you if I had my fucking headphones. No, dude, I went to Nobu the other day with a friend, and the speaker was right above us. And dude, we were shouting, and like, we have a lot of banter and bits that we do, you know? And like, nothing landed, bro. It was horrible. Like, she'd say something, I'd be like, what? What? It was just like horrible. Nothing's worse than not being able to hear.
That's my nightmare. I'll scream for you if you like.
Please. Please, Zach, scream for me.
No, I genuinely can't hear either.
Please don't take that out of context. That sounds so wrong.
No, I can't hear. It's bad. I have very historically bad hearing.
That's ironic because you're a talk show host.
Yeah, but it's the headphones.
Right.
You know?
Do you think it's making it worse?
Right now. Well, yes, I think it's
Over time?
Yes, it's deteriorating my hearing.
Well, I feel like you listen to a lot of music pretty loudly, though. Maybe that's part of it.
It's all bad. I like to hear myself because I feel like I just don't hear myself in my own head sometimes.
For sure.
So wow, it's dark.
That's deep.
That's
By the way,
shit.
you're a little
Alfalfa
calic
thing?
in your head. Yeah.
I'm a man.
Fix your little headphones. Go like that.
Are you jealous of my headphones? Is little Rita a real person?
She's a dear friend of mine. We started Sammy Sundays together, which is the homeless outreach that I started. And she called me one day when I was on my way to the studio and said that her childhood home was burning down. So like we prayed and everything, and I just like tried to comfort her, but there's like nothing you could say. So I went in the studio and I was writing another song, and I just like vomited that song out like in an instant. And honestly, it was just a love letter to her. Like it was truly just to comfort a friend whose house was burning down. My only goal was just to sing that to her. So I wrote it, recorded a quick little demo, and sent it to her, and then forgot about it. And like she listened to it like 300 times in one night. And her whole family was super touched by it, and they kept saying like, you need to put this song out. And I was like, I don't know. Like I kind of just didn't feel right because I was like, this is just a personal song to her. But the more people I played it for, the more people were like resonating with that message, and they really loved it. And so I was like, I don't know, maybe there is room for this song in the album. So for a while, I was actually in denial of that song. But then I brought it in with Tommy and Jeremy, and they like fell in love with it. They're like, this song is amazing. So we just like really produced it out, went definitely a Beatles vibe with it. And I'm like, it's one of my favorites now. I listen to it on repeat myself, like, which is not normal for me, like to find comfort in my own songs. But I will listen to it just so I can like feel like I cry, and I listen to my little sister said she listens to it all the time and cries. I'm like, it's crazy how songs can go on a journey of like, you know, like again, it was just a personal love letter to her, and then it ended up being on the album. It's crazy.
Do you think it hits you that way because it is technically about somebody else?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think it's just like a beautiful message of like, you know, like the I know this life isn't easy, but you know I'll always be right here, and I feel like she's always there for me too, like just the most supportive friend. And just a friend, might I add. I will say, bro, the internet is nasty. They literally, somebody started a random rumor that they saw me and her making out in an In-N-Out. Not true at all. I want to clear this on the zachsang show, but I will say people are mean. Like, she's the sweetest person ever, and they like make fake accounts of her and DM people horrible things, like pretending to be her. And just like, I've had so many people be so mean to her because I wrote a song about her, and I think that's pretty messed up. So anyways, she's the sweetest person ever. So
none of that's okay.
yeah, it's like, send that hate to me, whatever, I can take it. But like, she didn't ask for that, you know? She's not in the public eye, so
No.
anyways.
I mean, do you feel like you're better at taking those types of things at this point in your life?
Hatred?
I guess. But I don't even know if it's considered hatred, because anybody who's taking any amount of time out of their day to that magnitude to like send you any sort of message, like, dude, they're following you. They're still tapped in. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, to an extent. Yeah, I mean, I think obviously, like, I care so much more like what my friends have to say and what the people I value and respect have to say. And, you know, if a friend brings something to my attention where they're like, hey, I see a problem area here, like, I definitely am way more open to listening to them and stuff. Of course, there's days, like any human, like where you might see something and it might be like, ouch, especially when you already have like a belief about yourself. Like if you're already, is he doing anything on the ground?
No, he's just staring.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
If you have like self-hatred, right? Like, and somebody else says something horrible to you, like that's going to probably prick that wound that's already there. But it's kind of like the blue hair theory. Like if I said, I think your blue hair is ugly, you wouldn't flinch because you don't have blue hair, so you're not really insecure about that. But if I were to pick on something you might actually be insecure about, then it would actually affect you because you already believe that. And so to me, it's like navigating that stuff where, you know, sometimes it sucks, but honestly, it just brings up the stuff I already feel about myself. And so I work through that. And the more I sort of go through it, the less it has a grip on me for sure. But it's hard. Like you kind of go into this robotic thing where you're like, don't let it affect you. And I think for a while, like, you know, after the hospital stuff in 2021 and all that stuff that I dealt with, I think the reason why it took so long to get past a lot of that stuff for me is because I was just like, can't hurt me, and in complete denial, like almost in my pride and my stubbornness. I was like, they're not going to get to me. Like I won't let them affect me for so long. And I was actually in denial of how much I was hurting and how much it was affecting me. And so I think that there's a balance, because there's a way you can bypass emotions and sort of just be like, doesn't hurt, doesn't hurt, doesn't hurt. And I think that's toxic, but you also can't just like get too wrapped up in letting all the noise and all the negativity and everything like really take over your life. You have to find a healthy balance where like, you know, you hear what they're saying, but you don't take it to heart, you know? I don't really know what I'm saying at this point. I'm
No, I
rambling,
get it, but
yeah.
it takes time to get there, right?
Yeah,
Like,
definitely. It's definitely not for the faint of heart, for sure. But I also think about like this happens on a micro level all over the place. Like, yes, I'm dealing with it on a macro level and on a very public stage. But oh my gosh, that's crazy! It's crazy to let you pick him up because he normally doesn't like being held.
He was demanding it.
That
He
is
said, I'm
so
getting up there.
sweet. Oh
he
my
said,
gosh.
like, he goes to the person in the room who needs
That,
it the
yeah,
most.
there you go. Dan, do you need a hug right now?
Hey,
That's so sweet.
Buddy, smile.
That's so good. That's okay. Anyways,
so cute.
that is adorable. Sorry, what was the last thing I was saying?
We were
Dang, train of thought. Come on, I had a conclusion.
What he stole.
Talking about, oh man, it's gonna eat me
Micro
alive.
and macro level.
Oh, I mean, I was dealing with like gossip and negativity and people saying stuff and social media problems when I was in high school before any of this happened. And that felt like the end of the world also. Like it felt so painful. And so for me, I'm like, I think I just have my heart breaks for like the way that the internet has sort of desensitized us from humanity. Like not to get like too deep or whatever, but like, oh my gosh, like I mean, can I say this? I mean, I don't know what I'm allowed to say on the show, but like
Whatever.
trigger warning. The suicide rates are astronomical. And when you look at the suicide rates compared to the rate of social media, it's parallel.
It's really
The
sad.
way that social media grew and the way that, you want to get out, buddy? Go ahead. Watch out, watch out. If you look at the stats for when both women and men people started killing themselves, it goes up at the exact same time as social media. And I think that is a very alarming thing to pay attention to. And so for me, I am able to sleep at night knowing that those people don't know me. And honestly, if they saw me in the street, they'd probably be terrified because, you know, most people, it's easy to throw darts right behind a screen. But like, I feel we talked about this in the last interview too. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's a larger conversation of like, what is going on with the heart of humanity and why are we so cold and
give no grace and literally take everything as factual.
yeah,
And you never question the source.
100%. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Or the bias even, because it can be
Yes.
true, but you can, you know, there can be a certain bias that sort of shifts your perspective on things, the way people talk about things, the energy. Like my friend Jason said to me, he's like semi in the public eye. He was Jackson on Hannah Montana. It's Jason Earls. I was like, do I name drop or no? He's a legend.
But like, what a name drop.
Dude, I know, right? No, he's a legend. He helped a lot on High School Musical. But he just said to me when I was dealing with some stuff, he's like, you know what? People who hate themselves so much, if they can hate you just a little bit more than they hate themselves for just a little bit of time, then they're going to do it because it makes them feel better about themselves because they deal with their own stuff that they're like, oh man, if I can just hate this person. They don't do that consciously, but if they can hate you, right, then it takes the attention off of themselves and the stuff that they deal with because no one who's throwing that negative energy on someone else isn't already feeling that negative energy. Maybe not nobody. I can't say nobody. That's a blanket statement. But you know what I'm saying? Like
Totally.
And so honestly, I have compassion on people who are so... I literally pray for people who are mean to me because I'm like, dang, bro, you must be so like sad. Like I feel bad for you, you know? So, you know, and again, it's like Jesus said, like, with the woman caught in adultery and everyone's, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this because this might be, but basically everyone's like, can we stone this girl? And Jesus is like, let he who is without sin throw the first stone. every single person walked away. The whole point being everyone's like, yeah, let's kill him. Like, let's whatever. They did this horrible thing. And he's like, okay, whoever's innocent, whoever hasn't hurt someone in their life, whoever hasn't messed up in any way, go ahead. You throw the first stone. And every single person walked away. And I think that's the same thing we have to look at with the internet. Of course, we have to hold people to high standards. Yes, we should all be better. Yes, we should push each other. But I think if you correct people in love, they're way more likely to hear you instead of just attacking somebody. You know, it's like people turn off from that. They don't want to hear that. Whereas like it also says, I forget where it is in the Bible, but it's God's kindness that leads us to repentance. It's when we realize how good God is, when we're good to people, when we love them, that makes them want to change for the better. You know, it's like, who are you more likely to listen to? Like a parent who's like always bashing you and always saying horrible, horrific things to you, or one who's lovingly inviting you to higher and saying, hey, I know you're better than this. And I think if the conversation starts to shift like that, I think that's when we're going to see much more harmony and like more of a sense of humanity. But I mean, what do I know? I don't know anything.
I understand what you're saying.
No, that was incredibly said. And I think a lot of people need to hear that.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I got to say, you are really one of the most well-spoken individuals I know.
Yeah.
When we were hanging out and talking dude, we would hang out all the time. Religion never came up.
Yeah.
When and how, because religion was in your life
Sure.
right before.
Yeah, I was very anti-Christianity. Yeah.
But you were Christian before you were anti-Christian, no?
No, I never actually identified with it. I think my family was.
Okay, got it.
But I never really, I kind of was forced to go to church. My mom had to drag me. I didn't want anything to do with it. So I don't know that I ever like would say that I believe that for myself. It was more like my family did it and I just like didn't really want to hear it. So yeah, I think I know where you're going, but go ahead.
Understood, but when does it come back?
Yes. So how much time do you have? Because it's pretty nuts, to be honest.
Because I feel like it was a slow lead up. Like it wasn't instant.
Well, yeah, it's been a journey. So I'm just gonna speak completely transparently, and then we can figure out what is kept in. But
Of course.
it's a long story, so buckle up. But basically, yeah, everyone locked in.
Your arms and hands and legs in the vehicle at all times.
But that's what. But yeah, I mean, look, the first thing I'll say about it is the very fact that I am here before you, like talking about Jesus and like believe in Jesus, like is a testament to the fact that there might be something there, because I was so vehemently opposed.
Yeah,
like, dude, I know.
Bro, you were on this couch.
I mocked God on this couch, bro.
Literally in the exact same
That's what I'm
seat.
saying. Like, for me to be the person here talking about Jesus, I was like, I'm the last person I would expect. So that's already just like insane. And a lot of people think that I was brainwashed. They think that I went to some service and I was convinced. And that I've lost my mind. And it doesn't help that I've kind of gone off grid for a little bit and kind of been in the dark, just healing and going through a lot of different stuff, because people will kind of fill in the gaps and they think, oh, they must have converted him, or they must have brainwashed him.
No,
they must have.
I gotta say also, you were on a healing journey even when we met.
Yes.
Right? Like you were seeking healing,
100%.
like treatments in a bunch of different ways.
Yes.
I mean, dude, rightfully so. Like,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, so this is the other thing that's crazy. And then I'll get into the story of how I got here. But I spent my entire life seeking truth, trying to find peace, knowing that peace is out there, but not feeling it inside of myself, wanting to find love, trying to understand the mysteries of the universe, right? Like very spiritual, always seeking, always reading. And all the people in my life most of the people in my life were pretty supportive of that path until I actually found the peace I was looking for in Jesus. Then I was crazy. And then it was like, oh, okay, no, he's lost his mind. And it's ironic because I'm like, I get it. Because if you were to come to me 2 years ago and say, hey, man, that peace you're looking for is actually found in Jesus, I'd be like, you're insane. You're wrong. Get out of here. My dad would always try to call me and try to tell me. And I'd be like, I don't want to hear it, Dad. Like, you know, I just didn't want to hear it. And now I'm like, I'm so thankful. So anyways, all that to be said, yes, I've been on a spiritual journey. Basically, I don't know what I can say, but I think I'm just going to do it, because why not? Why am I here if we're not going to be vulnerable and honest? So
Thank you.
You know, I struggled a lot with addiction, and there were a lot of different paths that I took. I would do, again, I'm just going to say it, but I would do like magic mushrooms. You know, I would frequently go to the beach and try to have these experiences and try to understand the truths of the world. I started doing some deeper plant medicines. One of them being ayahuasca.
Yeah, dude.
As you might be familiar with.
Dude, I remember you wanted me to go with you.
I know, and I'm so glad you didn't, and I'll explain why. So, I never told you about this. I don't think so. Bro, I'm so glad you didn't go. So, I've done a few of these things at this point, probably like 25. Like, I was really on the path to learning. Not ayahuasca, but just other things.
Yeah.
So I did ayahuasca one time, and you're like asleep the whole time, right? And you're going, and I by the way, I do not endorse this at all. I am vehemently opposed to this. Please do not take this and think I should try it. I'm actually begging you, anyone listening to this, please look into it. Do not do it. And I'll explain why. So, second time I did it, normally you're asleep, but this time I woke up. This is going to get real. So, and I'm fine with being labeled as an insane person because even I was in denial of this for a while. And I've done enough of these to know I was not hallucinating. I wake up. Immediately I felt naked. And by naked, I mean spiritually naked, where there was no filter, no veil. And I realized the ugliness that is in me. And I saw it in everyone else in the room too. Like I could see right through them. And I realized that there's really no things hidden. It's hard to explain. Maybe I won't go down that path. But basically, my soul was falling to the pits of hell, a hell I did not believe in. As I hit the ground in hell, I was surrounded by hundreds of thousands of demons who were mocking me and laughing at me and torturing me. And as I thought about the abuses that I experienced when I was a kid, they laughed and they mocked harder. Now, again, you might say, Josh, you were just hallucinating. You're on a thing. I'm telling you now, as much as I know that I am here right now breathing, standing before you, Zachsang and Dan, and I forget your name. Carlos, sorry. As real as I know that I'm here right now, I know that this was a real experience. So, I have the thought the devil's had a hold of me my whole life, and I literally see the devil, and he's laughing at me. And I start to see all these different things in my life. And eventually, I get up, and I go to the bathroom, and I realize like how horrific what I'm experiencing is and that I need to get out of there like immediately. But I knew I couldn't leave because I was technically on this plant or whatever, and so they couldn't let me drive. But I was like, I'm just going to get out of this house and run as fast as I can. So I go out, I grab my keys, and the lady running the thing kind of goes and grabs my hand, and she goes, I can't let you leave. And I literally see like this demon over her eyes, and I'm like, I see the devil in her eyes. Again, I don't care if you think I'm crazy. This is the truth. So I'm saying this to her. I'm like, I see the devil in your eyes. I lose my voice. I'm screaming. Thank God you didn't go with me on this. And eventually I go outside because she won't let me leave. So I'm going outside to kind of cool off. And I look up and I see Jesus in the sky. And I'm like, no way. I'm like, there's no way. And the first thought I had was my dad was right. And I was like, dude, what is going on right now? Like, it was the most insane experience of my life. And I was immediately filled with like a relief, but like a terror of like, there's more to the spiritual world than I'm aware. And I think for a while I was in denial that evil exists. And I was always on the path of like, it's all love, but evil is real. So that happens. Eventually I come down from all that, and I'm just like shaken to my core. The next 6 months were the worst 6 months of my entire life, where I was so confused, bro. I would try to read my Bible, and I felt like I was suffocating, and so I'd smoke weed and I'd go on a walk, and then I'd feel like I was dying, so I'd go in and I'd try to understand, and I was just so confused based on what I experienced, and I had no peace at all. After that, the addictions started getting bigger and worse, and eventually I was just like completely lost. So anyways, the drug addiction was horrific, and it just kept getting worse. And then one day I woke up and I sat up to meditate. And I remember having the thought, maybe this time I will experience enlightenment. And I sit up, and immediately I felt the Holy Spirit, which I had never felt before, come upon me. And I just knew in that moment that I needed Jesus. And I can't explain it to you because it's so bizarre to explain, but just this light turned on. And I got on my knees and I called my dad and I said, can you help me accept Jesus? And he was like, what? And I was like, I know this is insane, but can you help me accept Jesus? So he praised me through a prayer of repentance. I literally cannot express to you the peace that I felt in that moment. Literally, every path I was going down, looking for peace, I found the moment I accepted Jesus. Despite me mocking God in interviews, despite me saying, that's totally wrong, my family's crazy, I thought my family was dumb, I thought any Christian was dumb, I thought they were so wrong. And then I had an encounter with the actual living God. So that happens, and I'm crying. Turns out at that exact moment, my dad was crying, praying, Jesus opened his eyes. Jesus opened his eyes. Jesus opened his eyes. And then he got a call from me saying, can you help me accept Jesus into my life? So that happens. I'm like, I feel this new lease on life. I felt more peace than I'd ever experienced in my life. I'm like literally jumping for joy like I was a child again. And some would say you're having a manic episode, but I'm telling you now, it was not a manic episode. So I experienced all this beautiful peace. And of course, with that, you like want to tell everyone, right? And so I've been trying to find this balance of like, talking about it, because I know people get really offended, and a lot of people have been hurt by Christians, and there was a lot of just stuff around the Christian faith that makes a lot of people not want to go near it, and that totally makes sense. But yeah, there's a lot more to the journey. There was times when I was seriously doubting my faith, and I walked away entirely, and I was even worse off than before. And then I had an encounter where Jesus once came from the sky and stood over me, and he was the strongest being ever, and literally my soul like leapt out of my body, and I'm like face to face with Jesus, and then he leaves, and I go inside my house, and I'm like, okay, God, like, because I believed in God, right? I just wasn't sure about Jesus. Again, I know I'm rambling, but this is, yeah. So I'm like, God, if Jesus really is, or I said, give me a sign when I tell the truth. So I type out, Jesus is the way, and nothing happens. And then I type out, Jesus is the only way, and the light turned on in my living room. And I was like, that is insane. Like, crazy coincidence. Again, I'm not basing my whole faith off of this, but it's just a wild thing. So then later, I'm at a church service and I'm in the back and I'm still not sure. Like, I'm questioning it. I knew I've had these encounters, but I was just like, it just doesn't make sense to me. I can't understand it. And so I go to the front for prayer. And I'm on my knees and everyone else is busy praying for other people. And I just said, God, if Jesus really is your son, like if Jesus truly is the way, the truth, and the life, send someone to put their hand on my back and I will proclaim it from the rooftops for the rest of my life. 5 seconds later, Rita, who I'd never met before, puts her hand on my back and says, God put it on my heart to pray for you. And she said that she specifically heard God say to put her hand on my back, which I had specifically prayed for. So now I'm sobbing. I have this crazy, beautiful encounter with the love of God. And I've been pretty outspoken about that since then. And again, like I know how crazy it sounds, and I know that I would have laughed at myself and I would have probably unfollowed myself at the time because it's just, it sounds so far-fetched and so out there. But all I can know is before I found Jesus, I was miserable. And I was also trying to tell people how to find peace and joy and love when I myself had none of those things in my life. Like, I look back at the interview from 2021 and like, sure, there's maybe a little bit of wisdom there, but like I was hurting myself. I was so depressed, so miserable, so suicidal, so like all these horrible things. And now it's like I found this love and this peace in Jesus, and like I just want to tell everyone that I see, but a lot of people get offended by it. And so that's where I'm trying to find the balance of like telling people in love that there is an answer to what you're looking for. And again, you can tell me I'm wrong and you can be offended by that. And like, I understand that I want to be respectful of other people's faiths and their walks. But all I know is I walked down every single path and it was a dead end. The thing that I say is, you know, again, being raised Christian, I say that I went to the ends of the earth to find the hidden treasure, and it was buried in my backyard the whole time. Like, I actually found it. So yeah,
that happens.
Yeah,
most of the time, because we seek answers in everything and anything than what like we're forced to know or
totally.
To have in our lives.
100%. So yeah, I mean, and again, there's like 1,000 more stories I can tell you of times where like I prayed that God would send me a sign of a sunflower, and then the next day I was very next to get baptized, and a little girl tugs on my shirt and says, God's showing me a sign of a dove and a sunflower. And I had prayed the night before that God would give me a confirmation of a sunflower. Just like crazy things of like prayers answered in just these beautiful ways. And yeah, so anyways, that's kind of my journey. I'm definitely leaving out bits and pieces because it's been a long time coming, but yeah.
By the way, I had no idea. I had no idea that one Sherman Oaks shaman trip that I didn't go on would lead you.
I know.
And by the way, this is the first time I've heard about it.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy because I was like, what are you going to tell people, you know?
No, but I was just worried about you after that.
Yeah, as you should have been, to be honest.
Deeply, genuinely worried about you.
Yeah. Well, and your mom was like, don't go, right?
Yeah, my mom was like, you shouldn't go.
She's of faith, right? Or no?
Yes, very much of faith.
Yeah.
Totally. I mean, dude, I grew up around faith.
Yeah.
I mean, can I just ask like the hard question that I think weighs on a lot of people's minds and hearts, which is, dude, Christianity in a lot of cases is synonymous with homophobia, right? And I do think that is something that people not worry about. I mean, dude, they take into consideration when they're meeting somebody who is so vocal about their faith. Mm-hmm. Do you get what I'm saying?
100%.
And I think, dude,
it's heartbreaking.
It's a huge community that it deserves love, respect, and that to be unwavering.
1,000%. No, I'm very glad you brought that up because it breaks my heart to see how people think. Like, there was a certain time where people were like, I don't know if I can come to a show anymore. I don't know if I'm like welcome. And I'm like, bro, like that couldn't be further from the truth. And I understand there's like a stigma, and I know there's a lot of stuff around that topic, but what's also very true is Jesus says, they will know you are my disciples by how you love one another. Jesus commands us to love above all. And I think that people try to tell other people what to do, probably out of trying to, in their mind, to help them, but without the love, and they're not doing it in a loving way, and it leads people away. And having gone so far from the Christian faith and coming back to it, I look and I see all these things where I'm like, yo, like no wonder I didn't want to be around Christians, because I didn't feel loved by them. And that's a shame, because you claim to know the God of love, you claim to walk in love, and yet you're withholding love from people who share a different belief than you, or who are doing a different lifestyle than maybe you're doing. And I don't know. I think it's heartbreaking, and I think it's not what Jesus wants at all. You know, that is not the way of Jesus. Jesus calls us to love each other, and to be long suffering and be faithful to each other. And so, anyways, yeah, I don't know what else to say on that, but yeah, it's upsetting.
Is any of this referenced in your music?
How so?
Does religion play a part in anything that comes out in lyrics, whether it be consciously or subconsciously?
Yeah, I mean, I think,
or maybe it changes your overall perspective that leads to some of the songs.
Yeah, I think, for example, with Little Rita, you know, I wrote that for Rita, but sometimes I listen to that song and I feel like it's God singing it to me, you know, like I'm always with you, you know, like I love you and stuff. And so I think there's definitely themes in that. And then also like even biting my tongue, like, you know, in James, in the Bible, it says the power of life and death are in the tongue. And I think that's very true, that, you know, our tongues are very powerful, and it's like a sword that you have to yield, you know? And so in a way there's a theme there, but it wasn't intentional. Again, I wrote that song 4 years ago, but I look back now and I'm like, wow, that is kind of a godly sort of thing of like wanting to bite your tongue so you don't hurt somebody, you know? So yes, definitely there's different ways. I mean, like I put out a song, Just Love, like last September, which was definitely more like inspired by like a lot of my revelations of God's love. But yeah, I'd say art, it doesn't need to be like Christian art or whatever. It can just be art, and it's naturally going to, you know, reflect maybe some of the things in my spiritual path, you know?
Yeah, because it's a part of your life.
Totally.
Do you ever think about where you'd be if you didn't find Jesus and God?
I would be dead. I'm telling the truth. I was on a path of destruction, dude. I was literally, it is only by the grace of God that I stand before you today. The rate at which I was doing the things I was doing, and the way in which I was spiraling in just a deep well of pain, it should have killed me in so many different ways. And so, yeah, I can't even imagine that. And I think God really made himself known to me in my life at the exact right time. And that's again where when I don't feel the peace of God, bro, it's like literally like I'm not breathing air. And it's like, that's why like just all that I want for everyone in this room, for everyone listening, is to experience the peace and the love of God, because we're designed for the love of God. And like, that is my prayer, because I didn't have it for so long. And it was like The Walking Dead. Like it was like my soul was dead. And so, anyways, to answer your question, I have no idea where I'd be. But that's why I have such this fire in my heart to like tell people about it. And again, people don't want to hear it. And that's like, you know, that's okay, because I didn't either. But I'm glad now that people told me before, because now that I've experienced the peace of God, I'm like, I can't imagine my life without it, you know? So
I felt your pain back then.
Yeah.
And I feel your pain now talking about it. And I genuinely I feel a sense of relief that you're
not crazy.
No, that you found exactly what you needed.
Yes.
To shine as bright as you potentially can shine. Because your potential is fucking boundless.
Yeah.
So dude, as a friend, that's all you want for someone that you care about.
Yeah, and the thing too about the spiritual realm, like, you know, when you open yourself up to it, it means the good and the bad.
100%.
Boy, did I open myself up to the bad. Woo! But yeah.
Are you grateful for that trip ultimately?
In a way, yeah. I mean, it gave me a lot of perspective, that's for sure. I mean, to be able to see what I saw, boof, man, like the spiritual mysteries, dude, are just, it is mind blowing. But it was probably the most traumatic experience of my life, I will say. So there's that. But and I've been through a lot of trauma. I was actually diagnosed with PTSD. Fun little fact. I don't know if you knew that.
Bro. We used to like, yeah, you would like tap yourself to calm down. That's that's a whole therapy I do too.
Oh, nice.
But it's all connected to things that trigger you.
Totally, yeah. Yeah. I actually learned a new thing, if you want to know it.
Yeah, go.
So you know the vagus nerve?
No.
I'm always learning new stuff. So the vagus nerve is your stress. It's like the longest nerve in your body, and it's like an indicator of basically whether or not you're in fight or flight. And so you can signal it by doing 4 seconds of breathing in through your nose, and then you do chin to chest for 4 seconds, and then you breathe out for 4 seconds. And what it does is you do that a few times, it signals to your vagus nerve that you're safe, and it puts your body out of fight or flight. There have been times where I could not fall asleep, and I did that and fell asleep within a minute, like literally.
Really?
And so anytime I'm in fight or flight, I will just do that exercise, 4 seconds in through the nose, chin to chest for 4, and then exhale for 4 seconds. It'll change your life. But anyways, yeah, I'm always looking for different practical ways, of course, to like stay grounded. I still do Wim Hof, the breathing. I don't know if you ever do that. Game changer, bro. But to go back for a second, sorry, on what you said about you're so glad that I have found this. Obviously, there's plenty of days where I am just miserable. That doesn't mean that my faith isn't real. That doesn't mean that I'm still not walking with the Lord. But it's just like, there's obviously still days. It's almost like the way you can look at it is like before I was walking through that all alone, but now I'm walking through it with like a really good friend, and his name is Jesus.
I'm not gonna lie, it felt like an ad.
It is. This is an ad. God? 1-800-TRUTH. No, I'm just kidding. No, anyways, yeah, maybe that was cheesy, but it's true though. Like it's so it's just a crazy different thing, because another thing I think that's different about the walk with God and Jesus that's different than like what I used to believe of like more of like this sort of neutral energy, like God is this passive sort of being. I think the difference now is God is personal. Like God is a person. And I'm not saying like he's a human, but he's a person. And like a relationship with God is like the most beautiful thing in the world. So anyways, again, I know that's probably sounds like I'm speaking gibberish to people who haven't experienced that, but I think that's the beautiful thing too about it is like to know that God like actually cares about you and he actually loves you and he designed you and he knows the hairs on your head, he knows you better than you'll ever know yourself. It's like to be known and loved by God is all you could ever ask for. Like take it all away. Anything in my life doesn't matter. I'd rather be on a remote island with the presence of God than have all the wealth and success in the world and be empty. And I think like most people know that, but once you taste the presence of God, bro, it's like it's all you could ever ask for. So that's why I just pray that everyone would experience it.
So then what fulfills you? Like, are you still fulfilled by making art?
Don't get me wrong. I mean, I think, being creative is like doing what we're made by God to do. It's a gift, and it definitely fulfills me. I mean, community, I think, is like the most fulfilling thing in my life, which is also why I love touring and doing shows so much, because it is a sense of community. People are connected through the music. I think, to me, what satisfies me is love. And so for me, doing Sammy Sundays, right, the homeless outreach, it takes the perspective off of me and onto other people. And it's so much easier to get out of bed when you're depressed, when you're doing stuff for other people and when you're connected to them. So for me, it's like, again, community, and music is a part of that community. Music is how I process my emotions. Acting is a beautiful way to tell stories. And again, that can all be done with God. They're not separate things. It's not like, here's my spiritual life and here's my professional life. It's like, they're one, music has always been a spiritual thing for me. So yeah, I guess it's just bringing people together. And, I think I felt this weight of like wanting to heal as much as I can. It's almost like unlocking the shackles so that I can help other people get free from their shackles. And so in any way that I can help people, that's like my goal. I think what motivates me is like the pain I've caused others, not wanting to do that anymore and wanting to help people. And yeah, just wanting to spread love.
Here's the deal. You're fulfilled by a bunch of things. And
Yes.
primarily it's community, and community comes in all shapes and forms.
Totally.
And community can come from the perspective being off of you, but it could also come from like, I don't know, selling out a room.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, the last time you came on our show, and I don't say this very often, but like that interview like changed so like millions of people, their perspectives changed. For years after that, people would stop me
Same.
all the time.
Same.
And they'd be like, and it was just a range of people. It could be young people. It
Yeah.
could be older gay men. It was just such a beautiful, diverse group of people that would stop me all the time
Wow.
and just talk about you and how it's changed their life and how they felt understood and connected to you. And it was there's like we've done a few interviews where like that rule applies, but like that one just hit in a very specifically hard and really meaningful way. It's just, I don't know where it came, like why this part came up, but like, it is wild. Like, I don't know, like, You sell out rooms, people connect to your music. You have cultivated a community of people that follow and care, and they're loyal. I mean, you have to feel that. Like, as much as there is hate and negativity, there is, dude, an outpouring, a consistent flow of love.
Yeah. I mean, I think it is interesting how you can read 100 positive comments and then one bad comment, and you sit with that bad comment for the rest of the day.
Totally.
Not the, and I think it is an interesting perspective shift because it is so important. I've been through the battles of like feeling like it's me against the world, which is so dramatic, but still
By the way, I think it's 100% valid though.
Yeah.
You can say dramatic all day. Very valid.
Sure. But it's like focusing on that stuff, and it can feel like overwhelming. And then, again, you just like change your perspective and you start to focus on the good. And that's why, like, this is going to sound so cheesy, but gratitude is so important, because gratitude is saying, no matter what I'm experiencing, I'm going to intentionally choose to focus on the good. And I feel like two people can go through the same experience and come out with completely different results because they had different perspectives and they chose to focus on different things. And so for me, instead of looking at setbacks, or it's like, if you look at like hurdles or whatever, you can look at hurdles as like a burden or something to like a chore, or you can look at it as a chance to strengthen your legs. And I think that it's the same thing with like when you go through trials in life. Like if you have the perspective of like, okay, this sucks, but it's making me better. Or like when when there's negativity, focusing on the aspects and learning from it, and then again like pivoting. It's like my A&R always says it's like Jiu-Jitsu, where like in Jiu-Jitsu, it's not about strength, it's about using the other opponent's energy against them. Being able to flip negativity and just love people, instead, and being able to focus on the love is so crucial to do. But yeah, I'd be lying if I said that it was like a consistent thing. Like I definitely do battle sometimes with like the feeling like the negativity versus like focusing on the good. And I think, the less I put my identity in what other people say about me, I think the happier I am. And, I think that's what frees me up. Even just like taking less time to be on social media in general helps me to be in a happier, more loving place that I can then give to people. So yeah, I definitely feel the love. I think there's a lot of beautiful people who I have the honor of saying support me. And so, I think I cherish that. And I also think like, I'm still just figuring this whole thing out, and I feel bad because I like disappear for like a year at a time sometimes, but they're so loyal and supportive, and they just wait for me to come back. So I'm very thankful for that.
Yeah, but sometimes you need that time. It
Yeah.
breeds growth
Totally.
and self-discovery, which, reflects the art that we make, which you can listen to the Golden Years, by the way, all on Amazon Music. Talk to your Echo device, get a plan. We're going to put a link below. Code on the screen. How you doing?
Did Jeremy Hatcher produce the whole album?
Jeremy Hatcher and Tommy English, yeah.
Yeah, they're incredible. What was it like working with those guys? Like, what'd you learn from them?
Bro, they're legends.
Yeah.
So the first day we worked together, it was just like mostly hanging out, and then like the songs sort of started happening. And I was like, these guys are awesome. Jeremy worked on the last 2 Harry Styles albums. Tommy worked on Born Stuff, Electric Love, which is one of my favorite songs ever. And so I knew they had the credits, but like what's more important is like the vibe, And so after the first day, we were like, well, we have to get in again. And it was just like, dude, it changed my whole perspective on the music making process, because it literally was 95% having fun and 5% making music. And it's, I would say, the best music I've made to date, because there wasn't this pressure. It wasn't stressful. It wasn't like it had to be whatever. We were just like goofing around, making inside jokes, just like having the time of our lives. And the music, I feel like kind of the energy really reflects that. So it was awesome working with them. They're the sweetest people ever. I feel like they're like family at this point. We've been through a lot. They've also pushed me through a lot of seasons of doubt. A lot of like, there were a couple times in the midst of the process where I would honestly like take a month off and be like, it all sucks. I want to give up. The album's terrible. And they'd be like, bro, like you got to keep going. Or like, would you tell me I hated that song? I was going to throw it away for like months. I was going to throw that song away, and they kept pushing. And I just really respect them. And they really care about music, It's not about getting a TikTok hit. It's like, what is the best music that we can make? How do we tell the best story with the highest quality music that we like are proud of, not just to chase numbers. So that just changed my perspective on a lot. And yeah, they're awesome.
What was the problem with Would You Tell Me?
So I wrote that song in a stream of consciousness, like one go. I think we tweaked like 2 of the lyrics, but it was pretty much just like word vomit. And I was just underwhelmed. I thought it was boring. I thought it was just like meh. I didn't really think much of it. I thought it was kind of dumb. And so I kind of ditched it. And they kept telling me I really like that song, and I was like, no, it's stupid. It's never gonna make the album. Like, it's boring. It's not, doesn't tell a story enough, whatever. And then I played it for my friend like months later, and he was like, dude, you have to put this on the album. And so I was like, okay, well, if we're gonna do it, I want to go back in and really make it the best it can be. And so he leaned more into the Strokes vibe. I changed a few of the lyrics to make them more interesting, and it's become one of my favorites, and one that I also listen to on repeat sometimes.
What if you're still the one for someone else? What if you're still in love with someone else? Would you tell me?
Yeah, I kind of like how it's like a casual like diary entry. Just like, it was genuinely just like me very earnestly just like pondering those questions of like, what if you're still, in love with someone else? So it's like less deep. I think it's more like, I also like at the end, we spend the whole song saying, what if you're still in love with somebody else? And then at the very end, it's, I don't want to know. Actually, don't tell me. I feel like it's just, sort of manic. But yeah.
Exactly how you'd respond.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, would you want to know?
Probably not. I don't know. Just depends.
Damn. By the way, Look How Far You've Come is my favorite song on the album.
Wow.
You should listen. I listened to that song when it was a demo 1,000 times a day. I'm so happy that you kept it.
Thank you.
It's so good.
Thank you. You know what's cool is the vocals that I did 4 years ago are doubled with the vocals I did 4 months ago.
Interesting.
Oh, wow.
So it's literally before I made the album, after I made the album, both vocals are in there. And so it's literally like, look how far you've come. Like the entire, it's just crazy because I also held up baby photos of myself while I recorded that song. Tears. I was just like singing to that little boy. So that one's a special one for sure.
I mean, in that moment, do you better understand who you were back then? Because you mentioned earlier that you didn't even know who that kid was.
Yeah, I mean, I think, Woody, you can't lick your paws in the interview. I'm sorry, buddy. He's going to growl. He hates when I tell him no. Come on, buddy. You can't do that. Yeah, I think in a lot of ways I have definitely come to know myself more. And in a lot of ways, like, Woody, in a lot of ways, like, I'm still just at the very beginning. I'm like, I'm pretty young, I'm still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, you've lived a lot of life for somebody as young as you are.
Did any of the was any of the album like? Did any of it come from those 6-hour jam sessions you were telling us you do on Fridays?
Interestingly, no. But I think what that did was it unlocked that ability to just like get in the flow and let whatever comes come. So I would still say it was valuable to the process and essential because it got me into this place where I would just not think and I would just like word vomit. Mm-hmm. And literally, Would You Tell Me, Mirror, Little Rita, Dancing with Tears in My Eyes, Circles, all those songs were word vomits. Where like I would say 90% of what ended up becoming the song was just me sort of letting whatever come out. So
just taught you a new way to write.
Exactly. Yeah. Which, I think it's kind of like the book, The Artist's Way? Have you read that book? It talks a lot about like just getting into that place of effortless flow and getting out of the way of the judgmental sort of voice in your head. And I feel like that was what that exercise was for. And so it got me out of that judgmental place. And I don't know, I feel like the best stuff you write is when you're not thinking about it. The second I'm trying to think about a lyric, it just doesn't work for some reason.
It's like a flow state. My therapist
Flow
would
Fridays.
call it like subconscious competence.
Yeah.
Like you could just do it and you didn't even need to think about it.
Totally. This is going to sound so cheesy, but I say my heart writes the songs. I just write them down. But it's true because I let them come out from here.
Oh, you're just a vessel?
I mean it though. It's not even that I'm just a vessel. It's like my heart knows more what I want to say than I do. So if I try to intellectualize it, like it's not going to be as good. Whereas if the emotion of whatever it is comes out and I don't filter it, then it's always better. So I'm not necessarily saying I'm just a vessel, but the less I think about it, the better it is in some weird, profound way. It's like sometimes I'll write a lyric off the cuff and not think much of it. And then like months later, I'll hear it and be like, that was way deeper than I thought it was. So
that's art.
I don't know. That's art, baby.
You got to listen to the album. It's waiting for you. Golden Years. Link below. Code on the screen. Cherry Blossom, great record too. I mean, do you like, is the meaning of Cherry Blossom, like, does that play into the actual song? The fact that they can symbolize a lot, mainly life and death. They have a very short lifespan.
That's good. I never even connected those dots. That's good. I mean it. That's good. No, it's funny. I was in Nashville and me and somebody that I used to date kind of had a bunch of picnics under a cherry blossom tree. And that was like our spot. We would always go to this cherry blossom tree. And I had never met this producer. And the first day we worked together, he came in and he's like, hey, I was at a coffee shop and I wrote this line, cherry blossoms on your sundress, summer skin on the emerald grass. And I was like, bro, That's insane, dude. Like that is like, how could he have known that? So he wrote the song based off of that, and it's it is sort of like that young love, the sort of honeymoon phase. Where you're like, this is amazing and it's beautiful in springtime, but is it gonna last? Will it last past the season?
No, it usually dies.
Sometimes,
Like the cherry blossoms.
like the cherry blossom. Yeah.
There's a link below. Listen to the music. Golden Years waiting for you. Thanks for hanging out. And
Is that our time?
I mean,
Flew by. We didn't even talk about the political state of the world.
you can come back. You don't need to wait 2.5 years between.
It is kind of crazy full circle to come back here and
And I'm hearing all of this for the first time. Like
I
there's
know.
like this was not.
I kind
vetted.
of love that we didn't get to catch up before.
No, this
you
is
get
good.
to hear the raw. But yeah, I also hope people listen to the album start to finish because it does tell like a cohesive story, and that was like a very intentional sort of thing with it. So, and again, it's cool, like the journey from biting my tongue, not being able to say the things to look how far you've come when it's like, actually getting all that out. So
It really is a full story top to bottom.
yeah.
It is the story of Joshua Bassett and his golden years.
Yeah, and his golden years that are hopefully not over.
No, they're continuing.
Just the beginning of the golden years.
Yeah, this is
That's a wrap.
it's going to be a long
That
period of
golden
time.
years are behind me, man.
No. More stories are being written.
There you
and more golden years ahead. Listen to the album. Link below. Thanks for your honesty, man.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, any time, all the time. Like,
All right, I'll be back next week.
Okay, don't bullshit. The show's always here, and I'm always here. I really appreciate you.
Love you, Zach.
Love you
you,
back,
Dan.
Joshua Bassett. You good?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Woody Bassett, everyone.
Woody. Oh.